I think I'm live.
Yeah, you are up, my guy.
Nice. If the audio's good.
Yeah, it sounds good on my end.
Great. Welcome, this is Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and I'll be doing the all mask category. And the goal of this category is to get all the masks, which includes the Fierce Deity's mask, and then defeat Majora. So, if anyone has any suggestions for a file name, put it in the chat. Or if Dope has any suggestions. And Dope is my commentator.
Yup. So if you got any ideas for a file name, just throw them in chat real quick.
Alright, I'll do that.
Do you think you can actually share your OBS through the call real quick?
Yeah, I can do
So I
that.
know where you're at.
Yeah. Alright, I'm almost ready. Alright. 3, 2, 1, go.
So there's not really going to be a whole lot going on in the beginning, just cutscenes, text, and then some movement, more cutscenes and text.
Yeah.
And we'll have our first trick of the run 7 minutes in.
Really all we'll be doing is getting rupees later on.
Yeah, so basically the beginning of this game is the infamous first cycle. He's just gonna be getting he's just getting his magic. He's gonna be collecting rupees for the bank later and doing all that fun stuff. Yeah, this route I think is substantially better than when there was a marathon. If you ever watched Trev's run back in like SGDQ 2017 or whatever, then the route that we're showcasing now is way different. Or it's not way different, but there's a different method of doing the trick called the wallet dupe, which we get both wallets from the banker essentially.
Yeah, and ever since Trev's run, there's also been a method to dupe Zora eggs.
Yeah, also the infamous equip swap. So later in the run, we'll be duping Zora eggs to get the new wave. And also one of the first in-game time things, in-game time-based things that's gonna happen is aliens. Right when we turn back to human and get back into Clocktown after first cycle, we'll be starting the alien side quest, or the Romani's Mask side quest, and doing all that stuff. We'll be doing a temple and some other things. But basically we have to make it to the ranch before the aliens take the barn so that we can save the cows and whatever to get because we need Romani's Mask later for the obvious definition.
And there are a couple reasons I'm playing on the Japanese version. The most obvious one is the text, but I think the biggest one is that getting the hook shot is faster because you can just walk into the hook shot room and not get caught by the guards, but in English you'll get caught, so you have to take an alternate route that's slower to get the hook shot.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the way the differences on getting the hook shot on English and Japanese, on the Japanese version, somebody figured out recently that the pirate is actually placed further back on the Japanese version. Their vision is apparently the same, just the way that first pirate is positioned in the room with the hook shot when you walk in, it's further back on Japanese, and on English it's like just barely closer, so it catches you right as you walk in.
Yeah, the two versions have quite a few random differences. Like there's a chest in East Clocktown that's slightly closer to you on English.
Yeah, just very small things that were just randomly changed for no reason. Yeah, if you've never seen an all masks run before, though, it's definitely more content heavy than an any percent run if you're familiar with those, because we're doing basically almost all the side quests in the game.
Yeah, after the first 22 minutes it gets really interesting. But this is the part you have to suffer through every time.
Yeah, that's what makes running this game very punishing, because of the way it was designed, and just with first cycle and everything. You know, it's not like OT where you can just start up a run and then in 2 minutes you have like full control of Link. You still don't have many items, obviously, but like you're actually like playing the game, I guess. We're kind of just stuck as a Deku for like almost half an hour.
And there are tricks in this game that are relatively difficult, and if you do something like a frame early or a frame late, you can lose multiple minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of frame perfect tricks that if you mess up, you'll either, it depends on the trick really, but there are many ways to crash this game. So it's a very scary game to run for like marathons and like races, because anything can happen. But there's also like the explosive count. You have to be very manageable with those. In like easier routes of like any percent or something, like it's a lot less restrictive. And I'm pretty sure explosive count in this category is not really that restrictive either. The time where it just gets really restricted is in really hard routes of any percent. So if you make one mistake with like an explosive, you have to do a slower strat, or you have to basically reset, because you'd have to go buy more shoes, which you can only get from the shops, which are really far away.
Yeah.
So making any substantial mistake with mainly just bomb shoes, is not very good.
Believe it or not,
Also,
going to that lower flower is like half a second faster.
Yeah, if you do the backwalk though, it saves like another quarter of like a second. I think it saves like half a second with going down to the lower flower, and then if you get a perfect angle and do the backwalk, it's 3/4 of a second.
Here's the first trick coming up. I'm gonna try to do this and then we can explain it after.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna let him concentrate real quick. He's basically just gonna be pausing up the stairs to skip a cutscene, and I'll explain all that shenanigans after, and why we do that.
I got it.
Alright, so basically what he was doing there is, this is a new method of the Happy Mess Salesman skip, which is basically, if you're playing this casually, normally you'd spin up that stairs and then you'd get stopped by the Happy Mask salesman because he saw what happened, you getting turned into a Deku and whatnot, so he wants to talk to you and whatever. And basically, as speedrunners, we can actually skip that cutscene because the way some cutscenes, and it's only some cutscenes in this game, not all cutscenes, work on this method, but that cutscene works on a 2-frame activation. So basically, you have to let 2 frames pass for that cutscene to activate. But if you're advancing 1 frame at a time, then you can skip that cutscene because you never give it that 2-frame window. So basically, you can skip that. It's usually around like 30 seconds if you don't go for it at all, I think. So it's a pretty good time save in the beginning. And also, yeah.
There are a lot of times where I pause a little early, and that's just to be sure I don't pause too late and get the cutscene.
Yeah, pausing late there would result in that 2 frames passing, and the cutscene would start, and would not be good. It's not a run killer, but it's just a time loss. But yeah, he walked up from the pole. That's a new. It's not really new because apparently SVA did the method back in the day. Like according to Kyle,
but it didn't go well.
Difficulty in the end. Talking to the lady. Yeah, we also talked to Grandma there to go to 3rd day because her boring stories advance time really quickly.
Yeah, and then we're gonna go talk to the Scarecrow in the trading post so that we can go to night 3.
Yeah, talking to the Scarecrow once makes it night or day. And it's just a quick way to get to 3rd night so that we don't have to spend all of our time waiting around. And then shortly soon he's going to be actually leaving Clocktown and going into Tournament of Field to collect rupees. He's gonna basically backwalk past a guard who is very bad at his job, and he should be fired immediately. But for some reason, no one is noticing.
And I need at least 60. Well, technically, I only need 64, but that's kind of risky, so I want to go for like 66. But with this repeat run I'm doing, I should, even if I get not great luck, I should be able to get 66.
Yeah, he basically wants to have enough rupees to buy more explosives later, and for having enough rupees for the wallet dupe trick, which I'll explain later when we get to it. But he's basically backwalking past the guard. So yeah, actually you're not really supposed to, the programmers or the developers of the game never really intended you to leave Clocktown on the first cycle, so actually there's no enemies that spawn in Tournament of Field. I think they spawn in other areas of the game, but just I think in Tournament of Field there's no enemies or anything. There's also no music either since it's night. I think even during daytime there's no music.
Yeah. I think some of the grottos are unloaded, but
I'm not sure.
I know that this one over here is loaded.
Yeah, we can just use that to our advantage and not have to deal with enemies or anything when trying to get through these bushes for rupees. Looks like he's gotten pretty good RNG already, so I think we'll be fine on rupees.
Like I'll be getting 99 unless I get destroyed right here.
And the more rupees we get is the better.
Yeah.
When we advance up by 10. So no 99, but 90 is still good. Yeah. He won't be depositing the full 97 just in 90 rupees. now we're just gonna be depositing the fairy for our magic.
Actually, I'll probably end up depositing all of them because if I get at least 96, it means I can skip the rupees in the laundry pool later on.
So yeah, we're gonna need more rupees later, and you can actually skip getting a 5 rupee in the laundry pool when we do all the Cafe and Angie side quest. That saves like 5 seconds. But normally if you don't get 96 in first cycle, I think you have to grab it.
What's an important thing about Night 3 is you want to go through as little loading zones as possible, because when you go through a loading zone, you pause your in-game time.
So yeah, what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to waste in-game time because we can't like hover into the clock tower or anything. We can't do any like glitches to get into the clock tower early. So we're basically just doing what you're supposed to do, where you let the in-game time hit midnight of the third night, and you can just walk in. So we're playing our in-game time so you can get to the door right as it opens up at midnight.
Yeah, there's a rupee alternative, which is a 100 rupee chest in the slot pot in. But the problem with that is that you go through extra doors and stuff, so you end up wasting more in-game time or pausing it for longer.
You'll also be maybe wondering why we didn't do the bomber side quest, and it was just for that simple backflip that goes up. It's called a gainer. And that skips having to get to the moon sphere and all that shenanigans.
Usually there's a text box that comes up right here, but if you just spin, you can skip the text box.
Yeah, since you're already like next to the stairs, the text box won't trigger. And now we'll be getting our ocarina shortly, and then we'll be able to leave first cycle. And then a few more cutscenes, and then we'll start the real gamer hours of the run.
Yeah, most of the hard stuff is at the beginning of cycle 2, so once we get past like aliens, it should be pretty smooth sailing.
You might want to unplug your mic when you can re-plug it in.
Yeah. Static kid.
And now that we have our ocarina, we're gonna be sent into a flashback and learn Song of Time real quick, which will be used not as much as you would see in any percent, but it'll be used twice, I think, to skip the Giants cutscenes after getting the remains. We don't use it on 2 of the 4 temples because we have stuff to do for the rest of that cycle. Because we basically, I'll explain more of it later, but basically it resets back to the first day, and that resets all the progress that we've done. So if we skip that Giants cutscene, then we'll have to like redo everything that we did that first cycle, and it's just not worth it at all.
Yeah,
So we'll be watching 2 of the 4 cutscenes.
So it's just routed to where the Giants cutscenes you skip are always at the end of cycles.
Yeah, it's when we have nothing left to do in that cycle, and it's a good time we can actually skip that cutscene. first equip of the run, by the way. Grab it.
I'm gonna reset the console to skip up the cutscene.
So yeah, basically, once he hits yes on this text box, the game actually saves right as you hit yes. So you can just reset your console to skip all the flashbacks. I think it saves like a minute and a half or something. And also after all those cutscenes, Tattle like basically talks to you again outside the clock tower, so it's even more text. The one downside of using Wii Virtual Console is we actually have slower resets than N64.
Yeah. Even though we have slower resets, it's still worth because there's way less lag on Virtual Console.
Yeah, the resets totally are just way better than dealing with lag all the time. And then I'll be learning Song Healing, which we'll be using to get all the transformation masks in this run, because we need Goron, which is, I think Goron's a neat one. But you don't see, it's not acquired in any percent.
Yeah. Once we get Goron, that's gonna be majority of the movement.
Yeah,
But,
most of the time we'll have Goron equipped for the most part when we're doing overworld movement.
Yeah.
Doing Hesses everywhere is just so not inconvenient because you have to use a bomb and you don't have complete control over where you're going.
Yeah, this run only does 2 Hesses, which stands for Hyper Extended Super Slide. If you hold a certain area on your control stick known as ESS, you can preserve speed. So if you get hit by a bomb explosion, you can preserve that speed of the bomb explosion to get a lot of speed and propel yourself backwards. But once you get Goron Mask, those aren't used at all. Let's play my capture card. Right, this is...
It just shows my fans hitting my mic. Oops.
the last big cutscene for a bit. This section has a bit of cutscenes, but there's gonna be at least some things happening after this one.
Yeah, once Jess starts playing, I'll explain what I'll be doing. So now that we've finally left all the cutscenes, we just got a little bit of text here, and then the run will truly begin. So the first thing he's going to be doing is he's going to be going into Clocktown, or East Clocktown, sorry, and then he's going to be Sangha double timing outside the mayor's residence, because we need to make it night, because we're going to get Cafe Mask, and then we're going to basically set up midnight meeting. We're going to activate that, and then we'll get the letter later and continue all that stuff. And we also need it to be night for the aliens stuff, like I mentioned earlier.
There's nothing really during the day that we could do that we couldn't do at night, so there's no reason to not go to night right now.
Yeah. So that is not really that's our first actual mask, not including a transformation mask. We can wear it around for a bit. So, normally you can just jump across that gap and Link will grab the edge. But if you do a jump slash before going onto the other side, that'll skip him grabbing the ledge, and it saves like half a second or something.
And there are lots of places where you can skip ledge grabs by jump slashing.
Yeah, and then he's just grabbing rupees here because he's gonna need to buy the explosives, which are extremely broken. And then you just set the midnight meeting there by talking to Anju. You don't really have to get here at midnight, by the way. She arrives at the inn, or she goes to the kitchen at midnight, but she actually stays there until 6 a.m.
Yeah.
So we'll be arriving around 2 hours late.
Right,
We also want to be wasting some in-game time.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk to.
We need a better Mom? Network. With Boost, you get a super reliable, super fast nationwide network. Really? Time for a switch? Oh, I'm back.
No more resting glitch face.
Switch to Boost and get 4 lines, each with unlimited gigs for $100 a month. All on Boost's super reliable, super fast nationwide network.
There's an epic ad. I hope you enjoy the ad.
Oh man.
Yeah, basically what he did is he got ISG off the banker, which stands for Infinite Sword Glitch, and then he just withdrawed his rupees he got from earlier. And then now he's going to be hovering up the side of this wall and do a side hop to get onto the other side of the loading zone. And he's going to hit an out of bounds owl, which will basically let us go anywhere we want without having to visit there and hit the owl. He'll also be storing inverted Song of Time here because he doesn't want to let in-game time fold. He wants to keep it inverted for a little bit so he has some time to do some stuff, but he'll be uninverting later, so he does get to aliens early.
And storing a song lets me walk around with the text box open, which if I activate it while walking around, it skips a cutscene.
So yeah, right there after talking to the banker, that text box comes up, because the way stored songs work is if there's a song like in inverted Song of Time or Song of Time, it has a text box and you can actually store that, and when you bring up another text box, that'll activate, and that skips having to watch the cutscene of the clocks and stuff.
Right, here's a trick I'm gonna need to focus on a lot.
Yeah, so he's gonna do a Hess, and he's gonna be going to the Swamp Grotto, and he's basically gonna be hovering out of bounds and going to the Deku Palace Grotto. It's a very hard trick, so I'm just gonna let him concentrate.
Nice.
Here he gets the cycle. He's also going to be pulling a bomb and doing a damage boost here, because we're going to have an epic time later.
If I don't accidentally die from the bomb.
Yeah, if he dies from a bomb later, it's going to be Monka. He just wants low HP, because he's going to be doing something spooky. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm glad I got that trick how I did, because that trick is really scary. it went pretty well. Obviously, doing that thing from the grotto means we don't have to go all the way through the swamp to get to the palace, and it saves like a minute and a half or something.
Yeah, it saves having to go to the swamp and do all that stuff. If you're familiar with swamp routes for any percent runs, and you do the time stop on the Gossip Stone to skip the Skull Kid cutscene, and you do some super slides and some other stuff. So yeah, we now have Sonata, which we use to access Woodfall Temple. We actually won't need Sonata if the out of bounds water worked like OT. If it did, then we can just get out of bounds and swim to the temple, I believe, because the loading zone is there. But they actually changed the way out of bounds water works for MM. If you swim in out of bounds water, you just instantly void.
And that's
So you can't use that.
I'm about to do a little clip here. You can just like clip onto this platform. Now I'm gonna learn Song of Soaring.
So yeah, that little clip up there just makes it faster to get to Song of Soaring, which is another very important song. And then after Song of Soaring, he's going to be soaring to Mountain Village. You know, see him place his cursor on the map screen and then soar.
I'm gonna be going to Great Bay first.
Oh, not Mountain Village. Dummy. This isn't 100%.
Yeah, because of that out of bounds ally hit, depending on where I put my map pointer, I'll go to a certain place, but the default value without setting your cursor anywhere is to go to Great Bay. So I can play Song of Soaring and I'll go to Great Bay.
So yeah, if you hit the out of bounds L and you learn Song of Soaring, if you just play the song straight up, the default index value is 0, which is Great Bay. So normally when you want to soar to somewhere besides Great Bay, you can just put your cursor on one of the map points on your menu screen for the areas that you visited, and you can soar to different places based on their index value. It changes the index value when you play Song of Soaring. And that was actually found out recently. We can actually abuse that in a certain way by pulling up something called the debug menu, which is now used in low percent runs, and it takes around 10 to 12 hours to perform.
Yeah, if you play Song of Soaring like 2,800 something times, you can pull up the debug menu.
Yeah, you basically go on your map cursor and you place it on actually the L button, and you can get a weird index on your map screen, and if you just keep doing that, it'll actually go to negative index value, and like it'll just keep adding up until we get to a certain index value, and then when we play the Song of Soaring, it'll bring up the debug menu, which we can... It's basically like you can edit anything in your inventory, I believe. I'm not sure if you can edit flags or anything else, but... And yeah, the reason why when I accidentally said we're going to Mountain Village, we actually need Zormask before going to Mountain Village, because we can actually, for the Don Garo mask, you can actually pick up the Rock Sirloin with Zora instead of Goron. For some odd reason.
Yeah, that's another benefit of English, is on English you can't pick up the Rock Sirloin as Zora, so this route works out for Japanese.
Yeah.
If you were to run on English, you'd probably get Rock Sirloin in 3rd cycle, like the old world record route did.
Yeah, an English route will have to take a detour later when we actually get Goron.
And after I get Zora Mask, I'll just be on my way to get Goron Mask.
You also might be wondering, how do you get to the Sirloin if you don't have Goron yet when you get there? We're just gonna do some fancy backflips, and we'll break the pot while we're hovering.
Yeah, if if you're at a good spot in the air, you can just roll and it'll break the pot.
Yeah, soon after getting Zora Mask, he'll go to Mountain Village. And then he'll be getting Lens of Truth.
And the main reason I'm getting Zora Mask this early is because I'll be beating Woodfall, and Zora Mask is needed for the Woodfall boss key skip.
Yeah, I'll explain why we need it for the boss key skip later if you're not already familiar with that. And we actually won't be getting Lullaby while in Mountain Village either. Or Goron Village, I mean. You may think that we already have Goron, we might as well get it, but it's actually slower. By a lot. So we'll be doing Lullaby skip later in the run. It'll actually be like at the very end of the run almost when we do it.
Yeah, Lullaby skip is like the scariest thing. PB attempts.
Yeah, it's killed many runs before. Yeah, and the trick right there, he just did a super slide. You basically roll into the bomb and while holding shields, and Link will pick up the bomb right as it explodes, and that'll send him flying backwards.
And that right there was a recoil flip.
Yeah, if you just pull a bomb and then just backflip while shielding it, you'll get a recoil off the bomb if you don't hold down for more than 2 frames.
I forgot to take damage on the way to the Storm Crow, that's fine.
Why are you taking so much damage, bro?
I don't know.
Does he have 2 hearts already?
Kind of scary, I don't want to die here.
Yeah, dying would be not so good. That's a minute time loss.
I'm gonna do a long jump. Just using bomb to get a bit of distance from the ledge.
Dude, you're at a heart already?
Oh my,
jeez.
Why am I doing this? I'm like fat fingering bombs. I'm doing it again. Oh god.
Dude. What are you trying to throw?
Apparently.
And half a heart, man. One more hit from a bomb
gosh,
and you're dead.
See a bomb over there next to the chest.
Yeah, I know, dude. Oh! Dude, you better run away from this bomb.
No! Oh my god.
What? Dude, come on, man. Why do you gotta do this?
All I did there was just death warp to get back here.
Yeah, it's faster to death warp here instead of running all the way back, because we need to talk to the Goron to get inside the shrine to get the sirloin, which we need for Don Garros. We won't be using Don Garros for anything, just for the completion.
Only use is for a heart piece, but obviously you'd only do that in 100%.
Yeah. He's gonna be doing another Hess here.
This is the last Hess of the run.
Yep.
I dropped it again.
The last sad Hess that was dropped.
Yeah, and the ESS range I was talking about earlier, it's kind of small, so it's easy to accidentally go out of it.
He's also gonna do a setup there to get on top of this pole. He's gonna do a bomb hover, and then he's gonna do what's called a mega flip. We're basically back flip on a certain frame of the bomb. And he's gonna pull a chew, and then he's gonna stop himself. Might be a little low. Never mind.
That's fine.
That was fine. But yeah, he did a roll there, which broke the pot. And then he actually put on Deku and then Zora there. Normally when you put on a transformation mask from for the first time from human, you get that little screaming cutscene. So to avoid this, we just put on Deku and then Zora, and that skips that cutscene.
And
It only happens.
We're gonna take a little detour here.
So we just did a super slide, but if you just noticed, yep, picked up the sirloin right there. So basically what he did is, if you remember how I explained it earlier, Link grabs the object and the bomb pushes him back. What you can actually do here is that since you can actually pick up the sirloin in the first place, you can actually get a recoil. You can basically get like a thing, speed off the bomb, and the grabbing for the sirloin is basically like grabbing the bomb. So you can basically like do a super slide and then like let go of A, and he'll pick up the sirloin.
I'm gonna uninvert now.
So yeah, now he's gonna uninvert, and then from the rest of this point on, he needs to make sure he doesn't make any huge mistakes to make it for aliens, but I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I played this pretty safe, and the goal of the uninvert is just for it to be where you'll be at aliens in a timely manner, but if I play well, I'll be pretty early. But if I end up messing up, I can just invert again.
Yeah, inverting is only a 15 second or so time loss. Or it's 30 because you have to uninvert again, but definitely worth saving a run.
I'm gonna do another somewhat difficult trick here. It's kind of precise.
So yeah, he's basically, what he's going to be doing is he's going to be getting ISG, and then since ISG can't fall off ledges, he's going to be doing what's called the Shrine Seam Walk. He's going to be getting in this position, getting a right angle, and then he's going to be walking up the slope here. And he's not going to fall off, and he's going to get another angle, and he's going to do some side hops up the slope here. And basically Skip's having to use the lens and climbing up the ladder.
I think it saves like 25 seconds or something.
Yeah, what can happen sometimes is if you don't have a good angle when side hopping onto the platform, you can accidentally side hop off the edge and void out, and it's not fun.
And also during the side hops, if you side hop too quickly, then you can slip off.
Yeah, and when you slip on any kind of slope in this game, you actually lose ISG, so you'll have to get that again.
Yeah, and one annoying thing is that first C-up angle I did when I wasn't on the seam yet. My angle's wrong, I can get a little slip and I lose ISG and I have to redo it.
Yeah, but now that we're getting Goron Mask, we're gonna be a speedy boy for a while.
Yeah, we're now gonna go beat Woodfall Temple since we have necessary things.
So we're gonna beat Woodfall, make another Clocktown trip, and then getting and depositing the letter, I think.
Yeah.
And then we'll be heading to the ranch and getting the aliens. Or defeating them.
The two temples will end up doing the cycle, obviously Woodfall, and we'll do Stone Tower kind of throughout the cycle. 2 trips.
So yeah, there is a harder route where you do Stone Tower in 1 trip later, but that basically during that time it's after you get the couples mask, and if you're familiar with that, you usually get it at 1:30 when Cafe arrives in Andrew's room. So you don't have very much in-game time left, even when you're inverted, to do much. But in harder routes, we use that in-game time to finish up Stone Tower and get Giant's Mask and all that stuff. But since Jess is going to be playing a safer route where we do it in 2 trips, which basically just saves doing it in 1 trip saves like 8 seconds, because you don't have to time stop an extra time across.
Yeah, it just saves the time to get across the temple again.
Yeah. It's a very minuscule amount of time saved for a pretty hard part of the run. Yeah, I think All Masks has like the most obscure temple route out of like everything. Because you're doing like the first temple first, the last temple second, the third temple third, and the second temple last.
And that backflip is not as good as the reflip. It's if you just have a right angle, you can just backflip onto that.
Yeah, and that skips having just to do some extra Deku Flying. Deku Flying is actually slower than Link walking forward, so we want to avoid as much Deku Flying as we can. And then here he's going to be doing another angle, or another Mega Flip onto this torch, which skips having to like do the whole lower section.
be doing that mask custom skip again here for a mask. Nice.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I was like, that looks kind of close.
Yeah, no, I saw Link like walk over it, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, what he did is he pulled a Trev. You're not really supposed to step on that switch, but it happens. It's no biggie though. So are we gonna be getting we actually kill this guy with Goron Mask. I think this is the only category that kills this dude with Goron, I think. Maybe AFR. Yeah, I think AFR does too, but...
And AFR is all fairy rewards.
Yeah, he didn't get good RNG there. Those Alphas jumped, so he couldn't ground pound it, which actually kills it in one hit.
Yeah.
Punching it is the equivalent of doing a jump slash.
And with all the temples, we'll be skipping the boss keys. I'm about to do the boss key skip for this temple.
So yeah, I'll explain real quick what the Zora Mask was used for. So basically, he's gonna get on top of the totem on his right, and he's basically gonna be using that to do a ledge clip. And he's going to clip inside of the thing, which will let him get out of bounds, and he's going to be doing some hovers and a mega flip. I'll just let him use that. He also uses Zora Mask there to get some height to save explosives. You can see that wedge clip.
Nice.
So yeah, he used all of his chews there, so we're actually gonna have to do a slower strat later. We're not gonna be getting the keg and blowing up the boulder as you might think, but we're actually gonna be hovering right over it. But in other routes of this, we actually had like chews to just hover over it. It's way faster than what he's gonna be doing later.
The older routes didn't beat all of Woodfall before Aliens, so you could just have all those extra chews to get into the range.
Yeah, I think in older routes you just got
He's got the bow from Woodfall and my game time is still fine though, since I played my own invert save. That's good.
And yeah, since we're not skipping the cutscene here, we can grab the heart container. Because normally, if you store Song of Time and you intend on skipping the Giants cutscene, if you actually pick up the heart container, it'll activate Song of Time text if you didn't activate it before. Or actually, okay, so before I explain that, normally when you're fighting the boss, most people, or what you're supposed to do is, right before the boss dies, you're supposed to activate the Song of Time text. Because after you kill the boss, you're not supposed to be able to play the Song of Time. Yeah, I don't think you can play it in the boss room to begin with, but having it stored is what lets us do that. But if you try activating it after you've already killed the boss, it'll bring up the text box. Your notes echoed far, but nothing happens.
Slash.
Does your battery deliver extra life or extra power?
Extra life.
Extra power.
Extra life.
Extra power.
Extra life.
Power.
Life.
Power.
Extra life.
No need to argue. Versus Copper Top, new Duracell Optimum delivers extra life in some devices or extra power in others.
Faster than crouch stabs, but they have to be done optimally.
Yeah,
It's very hard.
There's also a strat where you don't have to shoot a doll, you time a jump slash for when he jumps at you, but that's kind of a hard strat, I can tell.
Yeah, it just saves having to do it though. But there's kind of no point because it's the
pretty small time save.
Yeah.
I think this is like the last long cutscene until third cycle. So, a lot of stuff happening after this.
Yeah, this is the last major cutscene for a while.